And we're back. You are listening to the Exitology Unlock Your Profits, Unlock Your Potential show on the International Business Growth Radio Network. I am your host, Jason Wally Waldron of Exitology, and let's get to the good stuff now. We've talked about turning around companies. We've talked about entrepreneurial seizures. We've talked about starting a company, growing a company, all the mistakes that can be made along the way. I'm joined here by Rex Weishart, turnaround artist and just all around good guy with lots and lots of stories. Rex, how many turnarounds do you have under your belt thus far?
I tried 38, 27 of those succeeded, which I'm very proud.
You should be. I think that's awesome. Folks, that one stat right there is why we have Rex on the show right now. He's seen a lot more than I ever will, and probably you ever will in business, and that's why we're extracting information from his brain here today. Rex, obviously you're on the Exitology podcast, and the whole name of the game as we see it is to grow a company, maximize the value of a company, and then help the owner craft their perfect exit. And so, of course, that implies selling the company, transferring the value to someone, somehow, whatever that owner, is really trying to set up in their life. But what does it look like from your, many years of experience? What is the good, bad, and ugly that you've seen around selling a company for maximum value?
The most important part of getting ready to sell your company is don't try to sell it without preparing it for sale.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Didn't think so.
What are some of the things that you've seen that works very well to get a company prepared for sale?
Understand that it's going to be probably a multiple year process of getting your company right to sell it. You get your numbers right. You get your organization right. You find a way that you need to figure out that you can't probably sell your business on your own. That you need a pro to help you do it. And a pro is not going to even begin to talk with you. Let's say that you've got an 8-figure sales company.
Yep.
We're not even going to begin to talk with you until you have audited financials. And then I guarantee you 99.97% of the companies out there that do $10 million in sales that aren't public don't have audited financials. You do what you have to do to get it ready.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're back to square one. Face the music and face it head on, right?
Yep.
So we usually invite people to consider their grow to exit journey to take at least 3 to 5 years as a starting point. Would you agree with that or not, and why? Excuse me.
You bet I do. That's just the number that I've seen that it takes over and over again. I don't believe I've ever seen anybody do it in less than about 20 months, and that was somebody that, for family reasons, needed to sell as fast as possible.
Right.
And they spent an awful lot of money that they might not have, that they wouldn't have spent otherwise to get it ready to sell in 20 months. But you're looking at a multiple year process.
Right.
Just know that.
No, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because what we see in the marketplace, and we tell this story quite often, and we've got oodles of studies to back this up, but it kind of goes like this. If I am to walk into a room of 40 entrepreneurs, 40 business owners, and they all raise their hand and say, I want to sell my business in the next 2 years. And I walk into that same room 2 years later and I say, who's happy? There's one person that's happy out of that whole group. And, so there's so many different reasons, but I really like what you're sharing here, Rex, because the biggest reason is they weren't prepared for the journey. And the journey, we're very much on the business side of things, but I think it's always important to remind people that you're going to go through a personal journey as your human being who has been playing a role in the business for however long that was. And of course, in our world, oftentimes these family businesses and stuff like that, it's not uncommon. You've got someone who's been sweeping floors at the factory since they're 8 or 12 years old. And now they're in their 50s and they're saying, I've done this my whole life. I don't even know who I am without this business. Have you ever seen any of those kind of things happen?
The answer is yes. And let me answer it maybe a different way.
Sure.
You know, I know, and people who are your clients are figuring out that they don't have any friends that are entrepreneurs. That's just the way the world works.
Yep.
And I'm 75 and I'm still working every day. And people say, why?
Yeah.
And I say, because I have 11 close friends that are all male and have all been entrepreneurs, and we're in a pretty tight group, and I'm the one that's still working.
Yep.
And I'm the happiest one of all 11 of us. Why wouldn't I be working?
Yeah,
I know dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs who have sold their businesses and they're miserable because they have no idea what's next.
Yep. Yeah, and I can't emphasize this enough for folks who are listening. It doesn't mean, that you just go and chase the golf ball the rest of your life and stuff like that. You're going to have plenty of time to do that. But we sat down with an entrepreneur and had this discussion with him about a month ago, and it was really interesting to see his body language when we shared that he could take his genius that he brought to his company that he's sick of running and sit on boards and get paid handsomely to take those same acumen and basically tell people that they're messing up, right? And get paid handsomely for doing that. And that could be his second act. And all of a sudden, this world of opportunity opened up for him because he was able to see how he could take his family fishing and go and do all the goofball things that you want to do in retirement, but also still have a path forward. Am I kind of tacking in the right direction there, Rex?
Oh, I don't know anybody that would have done that.
Me neither. Certainly not anybody that's being interviewed on this radio station right now.
Certainly not. No way.
And so I think what you're really driving at is it is a couple different things, right? So one, be prepared to know that you're going to go through a 3 to 5 year minimum process to maximize this exit opportunity, right? That's the first point you were making. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Number two is, as you're going through that, start looking for your next act. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your next work act, but you'd better have some kind of purpose and probably a place that's asking you to show up and contribute. Am I doing good so far?
You're doing good.
What's the next thing people should know?
If you want to sell your business for a decent price, don't build it with no assets other than yourself.
Yep. Yeah. All day long. We talk about building the 4 C's, which is social capital, structural capital, human capital, and customer capital in a business, right? And on the flip side, we talk about decentralizing the business owner. And if you can build those 4 C's over there and track it against your transferable value metric, and on the other hand, essentially fire yourself out of the day-to-day operation of a job, you've got a really, really good chance to maximizing this possibly most important business event of your entire life.
Stated another way by me, not you,
Yep.
is everything that you want to sell needs to be replaced with you not there.
I like how you put that. That's exactly it, right? What are some of the challenges? Yeah, I do too. So from your turnaround, but also, just consultant and knowing 38,000 plus people, 44,000 people, however many you said there, lens, what are the biggest challenges that people have in terms of building a business where they don't need to show up?
Ego is the biggest one.
Yep.
Having family working in the business and thinking they're going to take over and having them be not competent.
Yep, we see that a lot.
And so you're afraid to step aside, even though you should or could, because your kids or grandkids will mess it up. Don't neglect. Easy for me to say. Don't neglect creative ways to sell your business. It's not always for cash, folks. Sometimes there's all kinds of crazy things that you can figure out ways to transfer assets without lots of dead presidents changing hands and make your life better.
Okay, that's good.
Don't let yourself get paid with dead paper.
Yep. So in other words, just promises of future returns or notes or whatever, right?
Yeah, especially future returns or notes. Those would be my first two favorites, and we haven't talked about that, but that's exactly it.
Yep. Yeah, we've got about 90 more seconds here. So and I think, obviously, Rex, we're gonna love to have you back on the show here in a couple months, here into the new year. But let's kind of wrap it up here on the selling a company thing. You've really, shared a lot of different things. I'm gonna ask you via your question, what haven't we been smart enough to ask you to share today?
That you can't and shouldn't put the whole burden of selling on your spouse. You need to get people who aren't emotionally tied to you and get advice from them on how to sell a company right.
There you go. And would it be fair to say that oftentimes you'll know that is advice is correct because it might, shall I say, piss you off a little bit?
Or a lot bit, yes.
Or a lot bit. All right. Well, I think that's really fair, and I really appreciate you, sharing everything here with a gentleman like yourself who has so many stories to tell. We'll certainly have you back on the radio show here in the near future. And do you have any parting words for us before we break and end today's episode?
Just let's go back to preparing your company for sale.
Yep.
Assuming that you're in business today, you started a business for a reason, you're going to want to get out of it for probably many reasons. Understand that it's a multi-year process, and you have to prepare for it to do it right.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Rex. It's been great to have you here. And folks, you've been listening to the Exitology Unlock Your Profits, Unlock Your Potential show. Go ahead and visit exitology.com. You can take a look at some deeper FAQs and find some other episodes, and also how you can get in touch with Rex Weishart if you desire to do so. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.